Hello, good evening, and welcome to your most authoritative business program, Business Focus, your weekly business program here on TV3. My name is Parker Chesari. Thanks very much for joining us for yet another program. Well, tonight we'll take a look at the general economic conditions, the general economy. We'll look at the aftermath of the banking crisis and its impact on activities within the economy, the general investment climate. How is this impacting on the lives of people? My guest in the studio tonight is the Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Mr. Ken Thompson. He's a tough talker, as you already know. He'll join us for some discussions on the economy. Also, the Ghana Revenue Authority has begun the implementation of the cargo tracking note system, and we know that importers are already raising objections to this policy. We'll hear from the importers as well as the Ghana Revenue Authority. With this plus many more, the Mover segment, all coming up in the next 60 minutes. All right, so you're welcome back to your weekly business and economic analysis program here on TV3. Later on, I'll be engaging with the Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Mr. Ken Thompson, on issues concerning the economy. We'll talk about the impact of the current financial crisis on businesses as well as individuals. But let's find out what's been happening at the Ghana Revenue Authority. As you may be aware, the GRA has gone ahead with the implementation of the cargo tracking note system. The Commissioner General of GRA said effective today, October 15, importers whose imports exceed 36 20-footer containers per year will be required to obtain a CTN number in the country of origin.
Effective today, 15th October 2018, importers whose imports from records exceed 36 20-foot equivalent units per year will be required to obtain a CTN number in the country of export. This means that any importer who imports less than 36 20-footer containers or 18 40-footer containers per year is exempt from CTN compliance. Such importers are not required to obtain CTN from the country of export. Also, businesses that import more than 36 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units, that is more than 36 pieces of 20-footer container or 18 40-footer containers per year, but can demonstrate that the nature of their imports and their turnovers make them small importers, will also make an application and be exempted. These exemptions are to ensure that our small and medium-scale importers, mostly small traders, market women and men, small distributors, and other small to medium businesses are free from the requirements of this intervention.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Union of Traders Association has described the implementation of the cargo tracking note system as illegal. According to the national organizer of the association, Clement Boateng, the CTN is not backed by law, emphasizing it is just a select few who are bent on implementing it for their own selfish gains.
Though the Ghana Revenue Authority has pointed out that there have been adequate consultation with stakeholders, Guta insists the authority has failed to address their concern.
With regards to the cost, at one point they say GRA is going to bear the cost. At another point they say the importer is going to bear the cost. You see, so they've been back and forth with the issues of the legal aspect. They've not been able to say anything about it. They have said government has rights, to do anything. But we all know that when it comes to the issues of revenue in this country, revenue collection in this country, it must be backed by law. And the only place that you have to go, for it to be assented to is the parliament. Yes. So they have not been able to, answer some of these questions that we have raised.
The association is considering a strike.
If they are talking about revenue generation, we don't have anything against it, but the issues that we have raised is what they must address. And even if they're talking about this generation, there is this revenue generation, there is already a system in place. That is the PAA, that is the pre-arrival assessment system is already in place, and they also have a manifest system in place that all goes to check these loopholes that they are talking about. So what is their beef? So we think it's just a group of people who want to, by all means, try as much as possible to implement this CTN for their own selfish benefit. And we think it is not right for Ghanaians.
All right, so you're welcome back in studio. My guest is already seated, the Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Ken Thompson. Mr. Thompson, thank you very much for your time and good to have you.
Good to have you. Good to see you too. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And have you been following the talk about...
the CTN?
Yeah, the CTN.
Yes, from a distance. I mean, technically, CTN is not a bad thing. I don't know whether it creates duplication because all it does is a global standard, and all it does is that it ensures that whatever goods you put in the container are the same goods that you declare, when you get to your destination,
right.
And also helps us to be able to track how much, if you sell, how much tax you're supposed to pay. So technically, it's not a bad thing. I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, whether
and why they're
opposing it. Whether it's because of duplication. Of course, we know the issues about declaration of imports in this country. So probably it's going to lead to an increase in prices because, of course, now everybody's going to pay the true cost of what it really costs in terms of duty. And then also they're going to pay taxes. But, we're in a tight spot and the government needs to raise revenue. So this is all the things the government needs to do. I mean, I've always said that the way to go about it is actually to widen the net, not to deepen it. Let more people pay tax. And all the time we go to the same places, the ports, the people that are working, to tax, and that's the issue.
Right.
But see, the program itself the principle is not a bad one, and it makes sense to me.
Let's go to an area you're quite comfortable with. You're quite vocal when it comes to matters of the economy. Over the last few months, we've seen some bit of shake within the banking industry and the aftermath of it. Are you excited?
Well, first let me say that our champions have been greedy. They've been reckless and corrupt. And that makes me very sad because all the institutions that were involved were Ghanaian. They just happened to be Ghanaian institutions, local institutions. Just greed, recklessness, corruption. And the Bank of Ghana, rightly so, stepped in. It stepped in. There were the two banks that were taken over, and then there was the mergers, the forming of Consolidated Bank. We're at a point now where, since that merger, there have been quite a few rumors flying around. And that has led to some panic in the system. And, if we're not careful, it's going to spread like Ebola.
Spiral effect.
It's just going to go spiral effect. But, there's a certain fundamental principle that needs to come across all the time. The principle is that no financial institution is able to pay its depositors on demand, all its depositors. A financial institution, the principle is always you have a certain reserve that you use to pay people that want their money back, and you either increase it or decrease it depending on the season. Maybe it's about 25% of the money that you've got that people have given to you. So, if this is not checked, as I've said, it's going to spread. And when it starts to spread, it will bring the financial system to its knees.
And already we are seeing that happen in a lot of financial institutions. I don't want to mention names, but we're getting reports that a lot of these savings and loans companies...
But I think, the media has a responsibility. You have a responsibility not to spread panic. You've got to be very careful, and you've got to put what is happening in context, because suddenly institutions that are good are going to be affected. Everybody becomes bad. And remember that the financial services is the oxygen of any economy. If it goes, we are all gone. And when people talk about financial institutions, we all refer to banks. But I can assure you, the banks in this country never lend to SMEs, the real engine of growth. People that sell kenke, people that sell oranges, cocoa, there are people that sell buffruit, there are people that sell wache. Most of these people borrow every day to trade. And if finance dries up, what happens to them? The economy is going to collapse. So we've got to put it in context and be careful not to spread unnecessary panic.
Is it the media spreading panic, or people are generally no more confident in the banking industry?
I think it's not helped by the way it's reported. I'm not saying that. I don't.
By the way, who's reported?
By the way it's reported.
How about
generally,
the management or by
I think
Bank of Ghana itself?
Well, okay, let's put the Bank of Ghana to one side. I think we now have almost a flood of rumors. The last time I heard, somebody said, now we're going to deal with savings and loans companies. Somebody says the microfinance companies. It doesn't help. Somebody needs to manage the communication. It does not help. Because, if this thing is not dealt with, swiftly, we could have a situation that we do not want. Because this is not the first time that any country has had a crisis in its financial sector. It won't be the last time. And every time it's managed. It's got to be managed. It has to be managed.
Which brings me to another issue of Ponzi schemes. Because in the heat of all these financial crises, then we hear about Men's Gold and the actions that have been taken by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Are you excited about this decision?
No, first, let me say I have I'm not sorry for any of the people that put money.
You're not? That's mean.
No, they were warned. People were warned. Over a year now, people have been warned.
But
I remember.
But before the SEC intervened,
but I tell you,
Men's Gold had never defaulted on its payments to its people.
But a Ponzi scheme is a Ponzi scheme.
So it was meant to fill.
It was. I remember on the end one. I'm driving, and suddenly I see these cars flashing, and I see a row of V8s. NAM1, NAM2, NAM3, NAM4, to 15. I'm thinking, Jesus. What's going on here? It was bound to crash. What institution can pay 10% per month and survive? It's not possible. And people were warned. People were warned. They kept going on and on. The latest altercation with the Bank of Ghana, it's only the latest one, but there have been previous ones where the Bank of Ghana said we have not really, approved for these people to take deposits. So people should have known. I don't feel sorry for people. I really don't have any remorse.
You think it's affected the general investment climate within the country?
Yes, of course. You see, that in itself puts pressure on the whole system because, suddenly people start to feel it affects confidence because people have put. There are some people who probably knowingly, did not. Knew that was a Ponzi scheme and put money there. Some people also felt that probably it was something that could work, and things like this, it takes money out of the system. It draws money out of the system because the money that's gone is not coming back. So where's the money that we're going to be able to use to fund legitimate business? That's the challenge.
I want us to talk about the economy, and lately the finance minister has been giving himself thumbs up for the management of the economy, and we want to find out how that's impacted on the lives of people. But in all these banking crises, you were quite vocal. You talked a lot about prosecution of people who must have been found culpable. It's been almost 7 months. We haven't seen anything. Are you disappointed?
Not yet. You remember that they say the wheels of justice grind slowly, but they'll grind. I mean, I've said that lock them up through the Kiawe. Through the Kiawe somewhere. We've had enough. Corruption, greed, recklessness should never, under any circumstance, be tolerated. Because it undermines the very fabric of the society.
But what we've done, what the central bank has done, is to wake up people, to play on the keyboards of people's emotions. People got extremely angry and wanted action now. That's what it looked like.
How do you mean in terms of?
Well, people were calling for the heads of these directors and managers.
Of course, this is a process, and I know there's some. I saw a writ. There's a writ flying around. It's a process. It's not going to happen. And you see, and it's very also important that the prosecutions are done in a proper manner. It takes time, but I'm sure the Bank of Ghana.
By which time do you expect any prosecution to have been done?
Well, for the case, I don't know. But I'm hoping that by next year, June, surely. We must see somebody, with handcuffs, being led, in the, is the white? What do they make it from? Calico. In the calico top with the number stamped on the back, being led into the prison van. Surely by next year, June, that's long enough.
We should see that happen.
Yeah, that should happen. By next year, June, it should happen. That's long enough. But we've got to be careful that the people. The prosecutions are done in a way that
is fair.
It's fair. It appears to be fair because it's very important. Because this event in itself will establish how credible, will add to the credibility that people attach to our legal system. So it needs to be done in a way that is fair, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
It's fair, and it seems to be fair.
It seems to be fair. That's
right. So the finance minister has been taking a lot of thumbs up for managing the economy. We've seen treasury bill rates go down. We're assured of interest rates also going down, inflation going down. Why are we not seeing that trickle-down effect?
Why is it not trickling down? First, there's a time lag. There's a time lag between what happens in the macro environment and what happens in the micro environment. There's a time lag. We also have issues of income inequality. So the people that are at the top, the few people at the top, they sort of all the rich pickings they take first, and it's not trickling down. You also have issues of corruption, But even any cash that we have made, we've spent on consumption. We haven't invested it. We talk about free SHS, it's consumption. We are talking about NAPCO, it's consumption. But you're not going to feel the effects unless we're investing. You can't consume and expect to prosper. You can only prosper if you invest. And unless we get to a point where we're investing, we're not going to see much difference.
You've talked about the need for government to raise more revenue and the need to expand the tax net. We've talked about this for the last 20 years. And every time, the same people are being taxed again and again and again. Indeed, for the 2019 budget, we had some hints from the finance minister that government intends to raise some $50 billion century bond. Is that the way to go?
Are you sure about that?
I have heard so.
Wow. 50 billion, 100 years.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know about 50 years, 100. Because I don't think 100 years. I don't know about that. You see, but, we need to raise income. And, I've said so many times that if you spend over 90% of your income on 3 items, you're broke. Let's do things like the national ID. Let's get it sorted. Let's more pay tax. Property taxes, let's go after property taxes with a vengeance. And I've said publicly that I'm ready to write a check, but nobody has come. I said over 12 months ago. And maybe this is the time when we should apply models that have worked in other parts. If you go to Lagos, the Lagos state's able to fund its own, it's able to fund itself through taxation. And because it's sort of done a public-private partnership with private companies, public-private partnership to collect taxes. Why are we not doing that? Go after property taxes. One of the reasons why these things have not been done is that the people that are supposed to implement it are the people that are going to suffer the most because they don't pay the taxes. Go after property tax. And for me, it's a no-brainer. Just go after it. We have to do it, and that's what I'm expecting. We need to raise income because it's obvious that we can't cut expenditure, so we need to raise income.
Some have suggested that, again, the reason why we're seeing these difficulties within the financial sector is because government has really not put money into Consolidated Bank.
Yeah, well, I mean, the government said the difference, the asset liability, what it owed and what Consolidated had was $8.6 billion cedis. That's what I think, at least over 8 billion cedis. That's a lot of money. So it's going to take time for the government to raise money. I mean, it's going to take time. It's a lot of money.
And pension fund managers have monies with Consolidated Bank. Government has said that it's going to pay these monies within 5 years, and it's going to pay an interest of just about 7% when the treasury bill rate is around 13%. That is serious, if you ask me.
So what do you expect the government to do?
But that's not fair.
There's no cash, but there is no money. But what are they supposed to do? There's no money. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right thing to do, and I'm hoping that the narrative will change over time.
Hope? Are we just supposed to live on hope?
The only strategy you have now is hope, That's the only strategy you have. The only strategy you have now is hope. Unless you can find a way to bring... what I can tell you is that next year Chinese money will come. How much? I don't know. But next year some Chinese money will come. Maybe we'll use some of that to show up the...
So, Mr. Thompson, so in the meantime, what do customers do? People are trooping into financial institutions. They're telling them, oh, we've got monies with Consolidated Bank. Government owes us this amount. And until government pays, we can't pay you. It's reaching a crisis situation.
Seriously, somebody's got to find money to put in to show up the situation because people need the money. Somebody has to find money to show up the situation. The money has to be found. And when we say government, we've got to realize that it's us. So we've got to make some very, very, very hard choices. Some very hard choices. Somebody must find money to show up the situation because, or else, like I said, some people, they genuinely need their money. I went to an institution 2 weeks ago, and there's a woman that had slept there for about a week because she needed money to clear 2 containers.
Wow.
And that's all the money she had. So somebody needs to step in.
And who's going to step in?
Well, it's our own government again. The government's got to find money. And that is us. We've got to find money to show up the situation. That's us. But somebody has to step in.
You're still watching Business Focus live here on TV3, your weekly business and economic analysis program. My guest in the studio is Mr. Ken Thompson, the Chief Executive Officer of Daylex Finance. And just to remind you that on Thursday, we've got the maiden edition of the TV3 Business Forum. We're going to be talking about investments generally and bothering on Ponzi schemes. And as a precursor to that, I'd like Mr. Thompson to give us his thoughts on this. So, with regards to Ponzi schemes, are we ever going to see this? Ever going to see it go out here?
I doubt it. Do you know?
Don't tell me people are generally greedy.
No, I won't say that. Over the weekend, there's this. I met a lecturer, and lecturer, it's the University of Ghana. He's, I'm not going to give all his, his credentials because someone might find out. And after a long conversation, he said, Ken, I can give you this one. They are paying 23% a week. I'm thinking, wow, will we ever learn? I don't know whether this is the last of it. What I know is that we'll become wiser. But it's definitely not the last of it. And as we speak, there are still Ponzi schemes in the system. As we speak.
So what does the central bank have to do? Is it the Securities and Exchange Commission or it's the central bank? Who has the responsibility to step in?
I think we all bear, financial institutions, we all have a responsibility to educate people about finance. It's a responsibility we have because, we are most directly in the line of fire. And so it's a responsibility, it's something that we have to do. Everybody has to play their part. The regulators and the practitioners need to play their part in educating the public about finances. For example, just over last week, we held a workshop for some people, you know, and we talked about these things, including finance, like your business, extra. So we all have a responsibility to do these things.
Do you expect anything new for the upcoming budgets for 2019, quite apart from what we know already?
Well, what I know is that you know, if you want different results, you got to do different things, or else you are insane. So I'm expecting different things because we need to raise income. We have to raise income. You know, we have to raise income. There's no other choice. I don't know what the minister has up his sleeve, but honestly, but he has to raise income, and I'm hoping that, you know, he'll come out with some scheme which for the first time genuinely tries to widen the tax net. We have to raise income. We have to.
Mr. Thompson, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
How
you.
time flies. 30 minutes, already gone. Thank you very much for joining me in studio.
Thank you.
Mr. Ken Thompson is the Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, helping us to do some analysis on Ghana's economy. Well, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll go for the mover segment. Also ahead, we've got some analysis on the stock market as well as the commodities market. We'll find out what the price of gold, cocoa, and oil is and how it's likely to impact on us.
Good evening and welcome to the Mover segment on Business Focus. I'm Eben Ejekumbwate, and tonight we celebrate a young entrepreneur and a student for that matter. She has passion for sanitation and she built her sanitation business, cleaning business around the Sustainable Development Goal 6. Tonight, we are happy to celebrate the CEO of Dossie Black Limited, Benedicta Dorcas Tete. And welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're so passionate about sanitation, and you see Kigali in Ghana. Are you sure we can, as Ghanaians or as a nation, achieve what Kigali has achieved?
Yeah. I mean, Rwanda has a very bad history. I mean, talking about the genocide, the over 800,000 people dying because of the 100-day slaughter. Rwanda is the fastest growing economy, and Kigali is one of the cities in Africa. Not because of the fact that they've banned the use of non-biodegradable polythene bags or the fact that the people clean every Saturday, Umuganda. It's because they have a united way of thinking. I mean, when we have to clean this particular place, everyone is actually ignited and the work has been done. So sanitation in Ghana, we really have to work on the mindset of Ghanaians, create awareness, and let's stop the one show thing, organizing one day in a whole year for sanitation. No.
I know the people of Rwanda accepted their situation and decided to improve. But our situation, we don't even appreciate we have a problem.
Yes, that is the issue. I spoke about mindset. We need to work on the minds of Ghanaians. We need to work on it. Yes.
I want to take your thoughts
on
the sanitation situation in the country.
Okay. It's really embarrassing. Very, very. From the issue of open defecation to choked gutters to it's embarrassing. Very.
Are you thinking after the June 3 disaster we would have changed as a people?
We are Ghanaians. I mean, it's like a one-day show. We do something a day and tomorrow we are back to our old state. Yes. So I think it's a matter of creating awareness. It should be ringing in the minds of Ghanaians every day, not just when an event happens. Yeah.
You have a business that deals with cleaning.
Yeah.
How did you come by the cleaning services?
Okay. I actually wanted to start up something. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be different. I didn't want to just graduate, look for a job. That's very boring, I think. So my mom kept saying that I should put my number out there for people to call us for cleaning service, for cleaning. And it didn't sound very good to me. Why would I put my number out there? So I had a bit of introspection, and I realized, or I came up with an idea that I could have a very big cleaning company where I can do anything under the umbrella of cleaning. I could have a factory, a laundry service, housekeeping service, painting, spray, anything under the umbrella of cleaning. So that sounded better to me than just putting my number out there.
So in all this, your mother was a push factor.
Yeah, she actually inspired the whole idea.
The whole idea. Yeah. Apart from that, what other things motivated you?
Sanitation. I'm so passionate, I'm so concerned about sanitation in Ghana. And if this is, I think this is my way of impacting or helping sanitation in Ghana, coming up with a cleaning company that supports or improves sanitation in Ghana, yes. This is my quota.
I learned you always talking about the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah, Goals
6.
Yes, talks about good drinking water and proper sanitation. Yeah, so anything we do, we make sure we are in line with Goal 6. It doesn't mean that we don't support other factors, but anything we do, we make sure we are in line with Goal 6, because that is the main reason why I actually established this whole thing, to improve sanitation.
So coming back to your business, you cleaning houses,
Yeah.
you doing laundry, you do a whole lot of cleaning
Yeah.
services. Trust is very important when it comes to giving out services to people.
Exactly.
You may send workers to houses to clean. The house owners would have to maybe move, go to
Exactly.
work, so your workers will be left there.
Great.
How do you recruit people
Okay.
that will not go into a house, clean all right, by the end of the day, take something out of the house that they shouldn't?
Okay, great. So we don't just send them out there. Anywhere they go with a supervisor. And these are people of high quality. So the cleaners are trained and well equipped. So all our cleaners are, you can trust them. And they don't go alone, so they go with a supervisor.
Where are your service areas?
Okay, so our office is at East Legon, but for now we are doing Accra.
In Accra?
Yes.
How many workers do you have?
We have over 25 workers. Yeah.
25 workers. That's a lot.
Yes, I
So
agree.
do you pay them well?
Yes, we do.
So how much do you pay the least worker?
It looks like you're very interested in the business.
Maybe I could join.
You could
That's
join. You
why
want to
I'm
be a
asking.
cleaner.
Why not?
I think it's the most beautiful job in this world, because that's how I see it. You're cleaning and getting paid, because everybody is a cleaner. You wake up in the morning, you need to get your environment well. Do you get? So that's how I see it, cleaning and getting paid.
How are you branding yourself in the business?
Great. If you check our social media platform, you see all the activities we've done so far, the programs we sponsored and everything. And what we stand for as a company is excellence. Anything we do, make sure that it's in line with what we stand for. Yeah, it's not only about the money, but it's about what we stand for.
About what do you stand for? How much money did you start?
I started with nothing. I started with just an idea. I didn't know. I thought it was even impossible. I thought it wasn't possible because it was an idea and I didn't have money to fund the business. But if I structured everything down there, I wanted to start a cleaning company and all of that. If I needed this, for example, I save towards it, and before I realize I have it, I keep it. I buy something else. So it was more like that. I didn't start with maybe this money or 5,000 cedis or anything. It was just an idea. And by God's grace, we are where we are. It's all about hard work. Do you get it? Yeah, it's all about hard work.
So in the next 5 years, how would you want to see your company?
I think Dorsey Black Limited or Dorsey Black Cleaning Service is a global company. I mean, we are improving sanitation in Ghana and Africa as a whole.
So if we want to see your company as a global one,
Brand, yes.
you need big money. If I walk in today or tomorrow and ask for a share of your company in return for investment,
Okay.
would you take it?
I will, depend on the proposal. I will.
I want 50%.
It depends on what you're bringing on board and how much, of course, yeah. Really?
So basically,
Yeah.
you are open for additional investment.
Yes. For now, I own 100% of the share. I do most of the things alone, so yeah, I'm open. I'm open-minded.
All right. There are a lot of young people watching you out there tonight
Yeah.
who are desiring to go into business, but maybe the capital is not there,
Yeah.
the ideas are not thought out well. What advice would you give them?
I think there are lots of things to do in Ghana. There are so many opportunities. You just have to be focused and just think of what to do. And you don't necessarily need this money to start with, because I'm a student. Where am I going to get the money from? So I started with just an idea and hard work. Yes.
Thank you so much, Benedicta,
I'm
for your
grateful.
time. So this is how we wrap up on the Mover segment on Business Focus. I've been speaking to the 20-year-old final year student of the University of Ghana, Benedicta Dorcas Tete. Keep watching Business Focus. I'm Eben Ejekumbwati.
Well, that was Aben with the Mover segment here on Business Focus. So we're going now for Entrepreneur's Corner before Winslow joins me with the very latest on the stock market as well as the commodities market. You're welcome back to Business Focus, your weekly business and economic analysis program. We'll shortly be joined by Winslow Sakifio with some analysis on the stock market as well as the commodities market. I'm sure you're interested in finding out what the price of gold, cocoa and oil is on the world market and how it's likely to impact on Ghana. Let's first of all get some tips, some financial literacy tips.
Have a savings plan. Resolve to set aside a minimum of 5% to 10% of your salary for savings before you start paying your bills. Better yet, have money automatically deducted from your paycheck and deposited into a separate account. If you are contributing to a retirement plan in a savings account and you can still manage to put some money into other investments, all the better.
All right, so let's come in studio now, and Winslow Sakifio is with First Bank Financial Services. Winslow, thank you very much for your time. We're hard pressed for time. Let's start with the stock market. There's some news happening with regards to MTN. What's the latest?
Yes, since MTN was listed, last week was the first time we saw a price fall. From when it was listed to last week, it had gained about 24%.
And what accounted for the fall?
Investors are a bit jittery. I mean, if you have made 24%, you want to hold that gain. So some of them are selling off. And that is what is triggering the price declines.
What else is happening on the stock market?
And we're also seeing some kind of negative sentiment with the banks. You know, the banks are heavily weighted. And because of the crisis we are seeing in the banking sector, the banking stocks are beginning to fall, especially for the big banks, and that is not very good for the market. So it's likely it will go into, the end of the year with the market not performing too good.
So if the big banks are suffering like this, is there likely to be a trickle-down effect?
It is. I think from beginning of the year, we've seen the smaller banks witnessing a lot of the negative pressure, but now it's sort of shifting to the bigger banks, which will be a worry for any investor who is investing in the banking sector.
What does this mean for the ordinary person on the street? What does this mean?
For the ordinary person, we know what's happening in the banking sector. There's been a few banking collapse, and that would even send more shivers down the spine of anybody who is watching the market. So for the ordinary investor, they are seeing the negative effects, but for investors who are supposed to be astute, they would shiver a bit.
We've got just about, in the last quarter of the year, how would you say the stocks have performed from year to date?
I think this year we've seen a lot of volatility in the stock market. Around March, we saw the market peak around 30%. Currently, we are seeing 16%. So
from 30 to 16?
Yes, and it happened just around March. So this year, there's been a lot of volatility, and it's not surprising given the kind of economic situation we are having currently.
But how's that so? Because if we're seeing a very marked improvement in the macroeconomic indicators, and at the same time we're seeing such volatility within the stock market, how is that? How does it explain for itself?
It's investor sentiment, especially given what is happening in the banking sector. You know, the bank holds everything. If you want to do business, you get credit.
It doesn't matter inflation is down. It doesn't matter treasury bill rate is down.
Yes, it's sentiment, and most investors react to the sentiment. But I must also add that the Ghana market is one of the best in Africa. Currently, we are seeing virtually all the African markets in negative zone. We are one of the only ones in positive terrain now.
From 30 to 16?
Yes.
And it's likely to go down? before the end of the year?
It will slightly, but we are hoping that investors would start picking up the very cheap stocks now to prop the market up for the end of the year.
Let's quickly do this commodities market. The price of gold, cocoa, oil, how's it performing?
When it comes to crude, last week we saw crude shooting up a bit. It went to 84. Currently, we are having crude at 80% because there's a bit of oversupply, and IMF has indicated that we won't end the year on a good note when it comes to growth prospects. So it would affect demand going forward. For gold has seen a lot of downtrend, but because of the uncertainty now, a lot of investors are moving into it. For cocoa, which should be good news for us, demand is going up. Grinding data is also improving. So we are seeing cocoa picking up a bit, which should be good for our cocoa farmers.
And is there some good news for the currency? Especially after the cocoa syndicated loan?
The currency, the money that came in was supposed to stabilize. We didn't expect it to change the direction of the depreciation. Currently, we are seeing 7.93%, which is high compared to what we saw last year. But there's a bit of stability, which should ease the pressure on most businesses that are placing orders for the Christmas.
Winslow Sakifu, I've got to say a big thank you to you. Winslow is with First Bank Financial Services. He's the head of capital markets for that company. Well, that's how we conclude the Business Focus here on TV3. That's your weekly business and economic analysis program. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Parkwesi Asare. We'll see you same time next week. But on Thursday, we've got the maiden edition of the TV3 Business Forum. Do make a date with us on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Also stand by for News 360 with Issa Money and Natalie Ford.